What does success look like to you? And you would be surprised at how few people actually answer that question before they start marketing themselves. At the end of the day, for the kind of clients you and I want, price is not their number one issue. A little sales technique that has worked extremely well for me. When they open up the price conversation. Big brands have so much to teach small brands. As a business person, you have to make choices as your business grows. Because and this is a very hard jump. Matter of fact, most creatives don't ever make this jump.
Marketing doesn't have to be to new clients only, because you can market to your existing customers and clients. Are endless photos of kit useful on social media for filmmakers? Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Teralon Talks podcast. I will be your host today. I am Julian Wakefield, in case you don't recognize my voice. I haven't been on this podcast since May, and Guy and Santi have actually done the last two episodes. We haven't done much since May, so I'm excited to be back. Sorry, it has been a while, but thank you for joining us again. Today we're talking to Kevin Elliott from Wewa Films. Wewa Films are based in Florida. And Kevin has an interesting position in that he worked in marketing for many, many years before he got into the filmmaking industry. So we're talking all things marketing for filmmakers. How do filmmakers market themselves? Should you specialize as a niche, or should you be a general filmmaker? Which is best to do? And are endless photos of your kit and behind the scenes stuff on social media the best way to go? Anyway, enough of me just going on and on. Let's just get straight into the podcast, because it's a very good episode. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did and find it as useful as I hope or think it will be. Okay, enjoy. Kevin, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining.
Oh, absolutely. I would say thank you for the invite, but I pitched you to be on, didn't I?
Yeah, you invited yourself.
I invited myself.
But I'm very happy you did.
We're talking about marketing, aren't we? That's the whole point.
Yeah. So just in case people don't know who you are, do you want to give me like a elevator pitch of who you are, where you're from, and all of that kind of jazz?
Kevin Elliott. I'm a co-owner of a film company called Wewa Films, and I can explain that name if you want to know where that strange name came from. We're a film company in just outside Wewahitchka, Florida. So that's a clue where Wewa came from. Near Panama City, Florida, in the Florida Panhandle. And we do all manner of film production, everything from corporate storyteller videos to, we finished a restaurant commercial the other day, to long form sort of documentary storytelling type videos. But that's our sweet spot, is emotional cinematic style videos. We just love it. But there's two of us. Yeah, so I'm the one who does all the talking. Courtney, my business partner, she's the videographer and the techie person. And so that's why I'm here and she's not.
Cool. And you have a background in marketing?
I do, yeah. I have a background in marketing and entrepreneurship. I was a business owner, or have been a business owner for, more than 15 years. I also work for a corporation. I also have a day job. I work for a corporation, but a lot of that is my job right now is to do communication and marketing, mostly for government agencies that struggle with it. And then, of course, I did my own marketing and outreach and communication. I do for 20 years. So yeah, deep background in marketing.
So you're very well positioned to talk about our topic today, which has been kind of one that I have been wanting to do a podcast episode for a while now. And that is around the topic of how filmmakers market themselves. And now our hot question that will kind of kick off this conversation, hopefully, is I see, and I'm one of them, lots and lots of filmmakers, and this also applies to photographers, posting on their social media endless photos of their gear and big camera setups and lights everywhere and that kind of stuff. Is that useful or not?
It depends on who you're after. You'll hear me say this a million times when I consult with clients or I'm talking about marketing or putting together some kind of plan. My first question always to them is, what do you want to do? What are you trying to accomplish? What does success look like to you? And you would be surprised at how few people actually answer that question before they start marketing themselves. They, more often than not, they put stuff out there because they've seen other people putting that stuff out there. Doesn't mean it works. It doesn't mean it's even right for you, but they do it because there's a herd mentality. So the first question is, what are you trying to do? So if you tell me, Kevin, I want to do work for big production companies. I'm a freelancer. I'm a hired gun. I want to attract some bigger production companies in the next big city. Okay, well then maybe your lighting setups and your gear photos and your unpacking videos and all that stuff will have value because they're showing those companies your stuff, that you know gear, all that kind of thing. More often than not, though, smaller companies are not after bigger companies. They're after clients. And I don't think clients respond as well to gear videos. They frankly don't care what camera you shoot them on. They care how they look when you shoot them. And so our tactics, while Courtney, my business partner, is a total gear nerd, just like all videographers are. She loves all that stuff. And she makes unpacking videos and she does all this cool stuff for social media. The core of our marketing is talking directly to clients and saying, here's what you could look like in the video we make for you, because we're all very self-centered. And if you think of it like that, show them what they could look like if you were to do their video, you'll get a better response. And so the answer is not no, don't do gear videos. It's just who are you after and what are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the first thing you do when you're going someplace new in the car is you get in the car and put the address in Google Maps, not get in the car and drive around hoping you get right where you kind of want to go eventually.
That's a great way to put it. That's a great way.
I mean, it's fine, if you want to discover new things and all that, just drive around, but it's going to take you a while of driving
and you won't make any
points.
money.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to go broke eventually. Yeah.
Enough with my metaphors. So yeah, I mean, what you touched on briefly in the end there is step number one is, who do you want to work for? Mm-hmm. And that will, different end clients will dictate different strategies for your social media and your marketing. Mm-hmm. And if you're looking to work for other production companies, then of course, okay, maybe it might be useful for them to know that you own an FX9 or a Red or whatever it is. But if you're aiming to work for the end client who is not at all in the filmmaking industry, mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure they couldn't care less. So I think maybe what I always like to say is when you're looking to get hired for something, you need to make that transaction as easy as possible for your potential client. Now, money is one thing. Obviously, the lower the price, the easier it is for them to hire you. That kind of lubricates the transaction if you give them a good price. Yeah. But if you go up to someone and say, hey, I'm going to do this for free, then, or a very, very low price, then you get the issue of, do they trust you? I mean, why is this guy doing this for free, or why is he doing it for an extremely low price? And there's that issue of trust, I think, is very important, and it relies a lot on your brand image and how you market yourself. So are you a trustworthy person? Can they trust you? If they're giving you their hard-earned cash, can they trust you to produce something good for them?
Right. And all this speaks to really one word in the marketing field, and it's called positioning, which is, and by the way, I want to recommend a book. Every time I talk about marketing, and by the way, I'm an adjunct professor at a college. I teach this stuff. So if I give out reading assignments, that's why. I recommend a book to everybody in business, every single person, and it's called Positioning. It's written by Al Ries, R-I-E-S, and Jack Trout, like the fish, T-R-O-U-T.
I've got a book on my list to reads by both of them too.
Yeah, if you read about marketing at all, you're going to find Ries and Trout. Trout on strategy, 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing.
Exactly, that's the one I was going to recommend. Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to here's how that's going to happen, because I read that book too. So 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. One of those 22 laws is positioning. Mm-hmm. And when you read that, there's a book they wrote just on that law called Positioning. It is classic, and it will change everything, the way you see the business world, the consumer world, how people make buying choices. It's one of those books, like all the best books. When you read it, you go, this is obvious. I should have seen this before. Why haven't I seen this before? And why don't more people see this? Once you see it, you can't unsee it, and it will help you. It will help you immensely to think hard about your business and, like you said, who you want to be, who are the clients you want. Because see, especially when you're starting out, you're always afraid of going out of business. You're always afraid you're going to go broke, and so just give me clients. I don't care. I just give me clients. I don't care who they are. I don't care what the job is. I would be careful about that. Because those products you put out for those clients are going to define who other people see you as, the position you have in their mind. And here's one of the rules of positioning. Once people get an idea in their mind of who you are, they never change it, ever. You can't undo a position in someone's mind. And the most famous marketing example case study is New Coke. Where Coca-Cola was getting some heat from Pepsi, so they decided to change their formula, and it was met with resounding fury because people were like, we don't want New Coke, we love Coke, old Coke. That's the position. Yeah. So to your point about being cheap, I highly recommend against that. So do Reese and Trout, by the way. That's not just Kevin saying that. Then you open up a race to the bottom. And in my experience, especially with work like video work, I would much rather take the time to explain to people why video is expensive, why you should invest in it. And if they choose not to and walk away, even when you're young and broke, I get it. But I'm telling you, long term, that's the better choice, because in my experience, there is a correlation between, an inverse corollary, I guess. The lower the price I put on it, the more high maintenance the client becomes. 100%. I don't know why that is.
So true.
Yeah, they want that $50,000 experience for $5,000, and know. No.
I guess if you're saying, I cost $1,000 or $5,000, or I cost a low price. If you're saying that, then they're going to be a little nervous because they feel like they're going for the budget option. So maybe they're nervous and they need to control they want to control the outcome a little bit more. Whereas if you're like the high-end Gucci filmmaker, and your price is, you're saying like this service is a £10,000 service, then they'll trust you a little more. They'll say, okay, well, these guys know what they're doing because they can command such a high price. So we'll let them do their job. They're professionals. In my opinion, that's kind of what's going on there a little bit.
Yeah, and the more work you produce to show that you're worth that money, the more people will. Nobody wants to be the first one in the pool. Everybody wants to see somebody else do it first. It's why case studies work so well. When you're talking about marketing, instead of showing gear videos, one idea, this is something we do that has really worked well, is we will write up stories on our blog about customers, about the client story. Let me tell you the story of how we were hired by this company and what they asked us to do, and then show them the final product, and then have a review from the client. I shamelessly ask for reviews, Facebook reviews, when I get done with a client. You should always do that. And if you have those, then somebody else can go, oh, okay, one, somebody else tried these people out. They were happy. Two, the video looks good. And three, now I feel confident. I feel confident that this company knows what they're doing, has a bevy of clients, and they have good experiences with them. See, because price, at the end of the day, for the kind of clients you and I want, price is not their number one issue. You hit on it. Their number one issue is trust. Are we going to go through this and end up with something that we're proud of?
Just to recap and round off a few things before we go into details of everything else, I just want to jump back to price. You mentioned that if you lower your price, it doesn't instill confidence in your clients, and it's also a race to the bottom. And that's good for no one, especially in our industry. Like if you're lowering your prices lower and lower, then that's just bad competition for everyone. So just a quick case study of something that happened to me recently is I was pitching to a company, and they said, hey, just so you know, we're pitching a few companies, so you're not the only person in the running. They've given a quote for this much. If you can kind of beat that, then that'd be great. And it's a classic like negotiation technique on behalf of the client. And now instead of, your first instinct may be to say, hey, all right, cool, yeah, I'll go a little bit lower than that. But I'd much rather, this is kind of what I did, and I think it whoa, my seat. I'm having issues with my chair. Okay. I think it kind of, in the end, we won the deal not because we beat the client on price, but because I said, okay, well, I mean, I'm not interested in trying to beat them on price because then what you're getting is a cheap video. And I want to make sure that you have the best video possible because it's a reflection of your brand. And if you want to put your brand out there and show yourself as a cheap brand, then, I mean, by all means do that and find the best option. But what I want to do for you is you give me the budget that you want to spend, and with our experience, I will tell you where the best place to spend that, which best areas are to spend that budget. So I will optimize that budget and make the best video you can, or we can, for you within that budget. And I'm more than happy to work. If you have $5,000, I'll work for $5,000 and make you the best video we can for $5,000. If you want to spend $10,000, also happy to do that. I mean, it's better for you because you get a better video. Also better for me because, a little extra money in the bank. But at the end of the day, we just want to make you look good, you, the client, look as good as you can with the budget that you have available.
And sticking to that is important for positioning, because now you're positioning yourself as a quality brand. It's also this race to the bottom I was talking about. You're talking about it's not good for anybody. It's not good for them. It's not good for the client. They think it will be, but it is not. But one thing that I used to do in business, I still do, is you can very gently put that back on them. And you sort of did. You said, hey, if you want your brand to look like that, if you want your brand to look like a $500 video, well, then that's fine. It's just not the kind of work we do. What I would do is, this is a little sales technique that has worked extremely well for me. When they open up the price conversation, we all know in our business, in your community, in London, in my community, we know who the other videographers are, right? We know who the other companies are. We know where their price points are roughly, at least by the quality of their work. Put it back on the client very gently and say, okay, I understand you don't have the budget maybe to afford us, but I know some people. I know a couple of other names I can give you that they can meet your budget. They're good folks. I would trust them, but maybe they have a lower price point than we do. I'll be happy to connect you. That move right there. By the way, I have never, ever had anybody say, okay, well, give me their number. Yeah. You know what they always say? They go, oh, you know what? No, it's fine. Let's go with it.
It is definitely a power move.
Yeah.
I mean, it shows confidence.
But you're being helpful. Yeah. You're also being helpful. You're not being a jerk and you're not being a prima donna. Oh, I charge what I charge, and if you don't like it, then, you're being helpful and gently putting it back on them and challenging them to say, find something better for the price. Because you're not going to.
Yeah. And you're doing it in as you said, a helpful way. And you're positioning yourself as someone who is obviously successful and good enough at their job that they don't have to worry about being so desperate that to get that job that they'll take any price. Even
if you are desperate on the inside.
Yeah.
That move still works. Yeah. It's okay to do that. And by the way, like you mentioned, there's a term called brand discipline. The biggest brands on earth exhibit this. It's why they do. It's why when you see the McDonald's golden arches, you instantly, a whole flood of memories come. I'm from Florida, so Disney World. Matter of fact, I have my Cinderella mug of coffee this morning, representing Florida. You see those Mickey Mouse ears? In other words, those brands are so tight that they never ever veer from who they are. You and I, if you look at this you look at this conference right now, you have a beautiful setup, lovely natural light, the whole bit. My business partner came over here yesterday. We spent 2 hours setting up my room. Now, did we have to do that? No. You and I could jump on Zoom with whatever crappy cameras and audio we had and go and just do a talk.
Yep.
But we care about what we look like. We care because we know we're representing our brands. And so you want to make sure and do those extra things that show you're worth the money. Even when it comes to just say a podcast. It's worth the time. It's worth the effort.
That also bleeds into another topic, which I think is in the 22 immutable laws of marketing, is consistency, and consistency of service, and consistency in your image, which will reinforce the trust that the customer or potential customer client has in you. So one example that I like to give is there's this restaurant in France where I grew up called Courte Paille, and it's just a little roadside restaurant that you usually find on the side of motorways. And whenever you arrive, they sit you down and they bring you a welcome salad. It's nothing much. It's just a tiny bowl with lettuce leaves, some walnuts, and a splash of dressing. And you know that every time you are going to sit down and get your welcome salad. Now, that's consistency. Because say one day you go to this restaurant and you don't get your welcome salad. And you're like, wait, hold on. Like, where's my welcome salad? Even though no one cares about a tiny, tiny bowl of salad, it's whatever. Even though you don't care about that welcome salad, just the fact that they may have forgotten to give it to you, or whatever the reason, you're all of a sudden thinking, oh, this branch of the Courte Paille restaurant is not as professional as the others. Does that mean their chefs will also mess up my steak, or the waiters might mess up, or do they simply not like me for some reason and are deciding to not bring me a welcome salad? That consistency is really important. And so doing this and showing that even on a podcast, which people are most likely just going to listen to on Spotify or audio only. If they do,
we look good, people. You should watch us on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. If they if they go onto YouTube and watch this, they'll see that we've put that time and effort, and that time and effort and perfection in everything we do as filmmakers. That will reassure a prospective client and saying like, okay, these guys are always going to deliver good quality visuals. And they don't have to worry about, they've got some good stuff on their show reel, but do they do that every time? Or the time that I hire them, is that going to be the time that they're not going to do such a good job? Yeah.
Well, let me give you a couple of ways that we do that. That brand consistency, brand discipline. And that's it. It's every touch point someone has with your brand. Brands are built over time. You can't just say, here's who people don't trust when you say, here's who we are. You have to show them who you are. It's like putting money in the bank, building up a savings account. And then if you have a little mishap with the brand, you give them the benefit of the doubt, because like Disney, it's my ultimate example, because they're the best in the world at this. If you have a not so amazing experience with Disney, I've had 40 plus years of experiences with them. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because I've had so many good ones. But here, a couple ways that we do this is, one, and I'm sure you've had this happen before, where a client will come to you, or potential client, and say, hey, I want you, we love the work you all do. We just love it. But we have some footage that somebody else shot for us, and we'd love to repurpose it for this video. That's typically a budget move where they think, oh, you don't have to shoot this, so we're going to be cheaper. But they come in and say, can you edit this and fold it into your work? And our answer, Courtney and I, my business partner, we decided at the beginning, no. The answer is always no to that, because we have a very particular look and feel. Courtney, I don't shoot video, so Courtney does this, but she just has this look and feel to everything she shoots, and people respond to it. And we're not about to dilute that by taking somebody else's video and putting it. That no way. And so we'll pass. I've had to pass on 2 or 3 potential projects because no, I'm sorry, we just won't do that. And even the people, when they walked away, they said, well, I kind of admire that. I get it. I see what I understand you want to maintain that.
Yep.
So that's one way that you can say that. The other one that I do is we don't send clients rough drafts, because you'll have a client, especially what I had this happen 2 days ago. You'll be working for, say, a marketing firm or a marketing person who then has a client and you're just a vendor. That person will say, just send me a rough draft. Just send me what you got so I can see where we are. That's a trap. Don't do that. I said, no, I'd rather actually wait a day or two. Let me get you something that we're proud of. Because what that does, those little things say, I'm going to protect the quality of our work, which means I'm protecting the quality of our brand and how you see our work. Because that rough draft goes out there, they might send it to the client without you knowing, and now you have a problem. Because what is this? Yeah. What am I looking at? Why is this so rough? So those little tiny things. Why is it so flat?
Why is there no contrast, no saturation?
Why is there no color? Right. Yeah. Exactly. So that's, in little ways like that, you can tell the world and tell your clients, we have a serious brand, we're professional, and we protect it. That's the word I use. I have to protect our brand. That's my job. And people respect that. They respond to it, and they appreciate it.
Well, I think they're used to it. I mean, I guess it depends on who you work for as well, as in who your clients are. But a lot of companies do this, and a lot of oftentimes, when people say, "Oh, large corporations, they're tied behind rules and they never budge, and they they have rules that they follow like robots." That's what's going on. These large corporations are protecting their brands, and they have processes in place that they follow to deliver a consistent experience each time. Yes.
So I'm a defender of big brands. I love them. I love watching these people operate because they're so good at it. Now, I have a small brand. I don't want to be a big brand. Again, my partner and I, we talked a lot about who we want to be in the world. And that's a question I ask clients too, when I'm consulting on branding and stuff. Say, look, who do you want to be in the world? Like, one exercise you can do is pick a movie star. Like, what movie star would your company represent? Who would you be? Would you be Harrison Ford? Would you be Sandra Bullock? Who would you be? And once you decide on who that is, so Courtney and I decided we want to stay small, we want to stay tight, so she and I can maintain all creative control. Like, we are the decision committee. It's the two of us. If you want that, hire us. If you don't. But big brands have so much to teach small brands, because everybody can look at a company like, say, Facebook. It was started by a college student, and he's wearing his hoodie, and he's wearing his jeans and all that stuff. Okay, fine. But I promise you right now, Facebook is run by a bunch of suits. And the reason that it is so successful is not because Mark Zuckerberg stayed in his flip-flops and right? He started it with those 5 people. To make it a big brand, to do something serious, you got to think like a big brand. And that means doing all these things we've been talking about over time and being very, very strict with yourself. Don't let anything damage that brand, because it comes back to positioning. Once I get the picture of who you are in my mind, that brand, that position has so much marketing power. It's marketing for you when you're not even there. So Disney doesn't have to market directly to me because I have a position in my brain, who they are, and they're already attractive to me. That's what you're going for. But that takes discipline. That a lot of young companies, especially creatives, the creative, we all want to be creative. We want to run and gun, and we want to do our thing, and that's fine. But I can promise you're never going to have big clients. Yeah. Because they don't trust it.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to what we were saying earlier, is step number 1 when you get in the car is put your destination into Google Maps. Yeah. Like, pick who you are or who you want to be, and then figure out how to get there. Reverse engineer it from there, and put these rules in place. Set yourself rules, and stick to them. Be disciplined. And
people, they think it's all about their logo and their colors and stuff like that. It's very little about that. All that comes way after the fact. Reese and Trout, they say a brand is a word in the consumer's mind. It's a word. So if I were to say, hey, if I just walk up to somebody and say, draw for me the Coca-Cola logo, they probably couldn't do it. They know it's red. They know it's got some squiggly lines, but they say, what does Coca-Cola mean to you? They have words pop into their brain. And so that's what you're going for. Is it when they think of your film company, when they think of Wewa Films, when they think of Teralon, what is the word or two? Because you only get one or two words. That's it. In the film world, do they have in their brain? And so for us, we thought a lot. We're like, we want the word cinematic and we want the word heartfelt. That's what we want you thinking and feeling when you see our videos. And if you watch them, that's what we hope that's what you see. So we don't do funny social media videos. We wouldn't be good at it. But I know companies who do that. I have friends who do that, and they're amazing at it. They do like explainer videos and super funny and witty. That's not us. We are cinematic and heartfelt. So if you have a documentary style story, we did one for McDonald's the other day that is amazing, but it's about 8 minutes long. It's a documentary style thing for McDonald's. And you think they don't do that. Well, sure they do. It's just, but that's our sweet spot. I'm not going to do the other types of things because one, we wouldn't be good at it, and two, it would dilute our brand. So think hard about those one or two words that you want to be.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic advice, and advice that you see a lot of people not getting correctly or not getting right. I think it's difficult for filmmakers when they start out because you don't necessarily know where you want to go with it because there's so many different kinds of subcategories of filmmaking. You can make large feature films, you can make small comedy skits, you can do live events and sports and festivals, or branded content or corporate content or weddings. And there's so much out there. There's so much there's so many options. And when you're starting out, most of the time, or at least most people I know, they start out having filmmaking as a hobby, and they're making like skateboard videos or skiing videos and all that kind of stuff. And then they kind of segue into having it as a job. That's what happened to us. And so you're not jumping into it as with a business plan. It just comes little by little. And it takes some time sometimes to figure out which part of the industry you want to fit into and what kind of movies you want to make, or photography or animation, whichever you are, because there's a lot of crossover in all of this. But also who you are as a professional. Are you someone who's more casual and laid back and you're going to be a fun person to work with? Or are you going to be a team that's super professional and that's going to come in and get everything done, and maybe not be as jokey and fun?
Right.
And, those will fetch different clients. I mean, if you're the more fun person to work with, then you'll find that your clients will be the more casual brands possibly. And if you are more of the, not that fun people aren't professional, but the more, let's call them suits, the more of a suit filmmaker, you'll get the suit clients. Yeah. You attract those types. You're right. And by the way, the suits have a lot of money. So just before you get to, because people, sometimes young companies, they're like, oh, I don't want to work for that. I do. They have big budgets. Yes, I do. So there are two little personal exercises that I recommend that we do, that at our company we do. I do personally, and I recommend to other people. The first, when you're trying to say where's my place in the world, in the film world, in the creative world, where do I want to fit? We in our company we have what we call the chills test. What gives you chills? What video do you watch and you just go, oh my gosh, you tingle, you respond. There's always something. If it's funny, if you watch a funny video, you go, oh my, that just blew me away. Or like us, if you watch a sort of I'm a documentary, I'm just obsessed, that's all I watch. I just have always loved that style. I was the kid in school, and I'm old enough, I'm dating myself. I'm old enough now to remember the teacher used to bring in the film projector with the reel-to-reel, this thing, on like movie day. My favorite day, my whole life. It's all I've loved them. I respond to those. They give me chills. So what kind of work gives you chills? That might be the kind of work you want to do.
The other thing is to ask other people. It's funny. We are so self-centered. We think we're presenting ourselves to the world in a particular way, or we think we are who we are. Ask others, because they see. So if you go to them and say, what, if I'm a camera person. I do it as a hobby. I do it for fun. If you could see me doing this professionally, what kind of videos do you think I would make based on what you know of me? If you get the same answer 2 or 3 times, look at that, because you, even inadvertently, that might be your spot.
Yeah, that's what you project.
That's what you project, right. Yeah.
So kind of moving gently along, and we're almost going in that direction anyway. What are your thoughts on specializing in the industry? So I have some filmmaker friends who've made a really, really good career for themselves because they bought a Phantom Flex and they do slow motion filmmaking. Like, they're the slow motion guy. Now he's gone on to doing aerial filmmaking, and he's known as like the guy, well, one of the guys, but a lot of the time the guy you go for this type of filmmaking. Starting out, you do a little bit of everything. Eventually, some people find a niche. Do you think it's better to be a jack of all trades and a one-stop solution to anyone's filmmaking needs, or do you want to be a specialist car filmmaker or whatever your niche may be?
Okay, so to go back to my source document, to Reese and Trout in positioning.
Yep.
They say, without a doubt, unequivocally, the specialists win. Specializing is the way to go. Here's the thing. And people say, but I like to do multiple things, and I get it. And that's there's an answer for that, and that's okay. Understand, you have to start thinking like consumers. You can't think like, and by the way, think about how you think of other brands. We all want special rules for our brand. We want people to think differently about our brand than they do about any other brand, than we do about other brands. People associate very specific things with brands. 1 or 2 words in their mind. If slow motion, perfect example. You're the slow motion guy. That's not a mistake that you said that, because people think that's the slow motion guy. So you think, oh, well then how do I ever, if I want to do other things? The answer is start another brand. Do not try to fold a bunch of things under your umbrella brand. It will only hurt it. Reese and Trout, they call this line extension. It's when you see one company that they are known for doing, something they are known for making, go make some weird, like an airplane company will start making cars. It's just like, no, you make airplanes. Again, going back to the big brands like Procter and Gamble, they own hundreds of individual brands. They own Tide, they own Gain, they own all these, they own Clorox. But you don't know that because you know the brands. You know Clorox and Tide and Gain. Coca-Cola owns Coke, they own Sprite, they own Monster, because they know when you think, I want an energy drink, I think Monster or Red Bull. That's all I think. If I want a dark soda, I think Pepsi or Coke. If I want a light soda, I think 7-Up or Sprite. There's only 2 positions or so in people's minds. But that's okay. If you want to be known for slow motion and then you want to start a company that's known for aerial, that's 2 companies, that's 2 brands. That's 2 thoughts in the consumer's mind. Do not try to put them under the same brand. It will confuse people. It will eventually hurt your business. So specialize, big time.
I mean, I'm so glad. I can tell we've both read the same books, or at least, yeah, right. I mean, you probably have developed this over your career. I just happen to have read 1 or 2 books that you also have read. But yeah, I 100% agree. And I mean, sometimes it's important when you're starting out and you don't know what niche you fall into. You can experiment a little bit left, right, and center.
Right.
But when you have found something, then it's time to specialize. And quite often you'll find that it's difficult because, as you said earlier, once people have given you a position in their mind, it's very difficult to change it, if not impossible. Yeah. And so if you do a little bit of everything and all of a sudden you want to become like the slow motion guy, then those clients will be like, hang on a minute, you're not the slow
But
motion
wait,
guy.
you're the slow motion guy. Yeah.
Yeah, you're the guy who charges only a couple $100 to make
That's right.
Short, cheap and cheerful films on a cheap DSLR. And
That's right.
now all of a sudden you are charging $1,000 a day to film
Right.
slow motion on this. What's a Phantom Flex camera? What is that? What even is that?
Yeah. So you can't switch positions with the same brand. People, their minds are just never going to do that. So yeah, if you put out there that I do cheap, funny videos, there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. You're sure you can make lots of money doing that, but understand when people get that in their brain, that's all they're ever going to think of your brand. I have some friends who do a lot of real estate videography. I'm Florida, right? So real estate and tourism and all that stuff. It's a very big deal here. I live on the Gulf Coast of Florida, so there's beach homes, and it's a huge industry.
Yeah.
And you can make a lot of money doing real estate because they want to have that drone shot around. They want to do all this beautiful presentation video, and that's great. But just understand, once you become known as the real estate video guy, that's who you are, and there's no undoing it unless you start a whole other brand. So yes, you can experiment. Some should experiment to find out what gives you chills. What is the thing that you like the most? But as quickly as you can, and once you find a spot you like, jump in there, because that's what is going to stick, whether you want it to or not. That's the thing. That's why it's a law. It doesn't change. This is how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you mentioned earlier, you said started new company, started different company. How?
Yeah.
Do you think that's not maybe spreading yourself a bit too thin if you're a filmmaker and you're trying to do all these different things, albeit under different brands? Mm-hmm. What if maybe one of your clients finds out you're doing both and it confuses them? Do you have any thoughts around that?
Yes. So I have a friend here in Panama City who is an incredibly successful entrepreneur, and he's a serial entrepreneur. He's like a third generation. It's what his family does. They just start businesses. And he started when he was 25. He started a software company, and he did incredibly well with the software company. He also he realized, that software firms need animated explainer videos for their websites because people don't want to read a big block of text. And so he started a company that makes explainer videos. That's all they do. He owns both companies. He now he sold a piece. They started an accounting software that did really well and got bought. It's a software developer's dream. You make something and you sell it for lots and lots of money, and he did. He's now taken that money and he is working in Panama City is an old tiny little town right on the water, and he's buying up old buildings downtown and turning them into brew pubs and into other things. He has this great brew pub called History Class. If you're ever in Panama City, I'll take you there. He owns all of these businesses plus several others. But what he does, and I've studied this guy, his name is Alan Branch. I've studied him because I'm so impressed with his ability to manage multiple companies in different fields completely, is he partners well. He is extremely good at finding good partners. So he had a partner in the software firm. He has another partner in the film firm, and he has a third partner, a brewer, in his brew pub. So Alan floats above these brands. He's a great marketer. He does all the marketing. He does this. But when it comes to client to client, like who's you're going to deal with, Eric or Tim or Steve. You're not. So if you're going to scale like that, and by the way, I have not done that. I have Wewa Films. This is so. But if I'm studying him in case we want to do this, is I've noticed he always has a key partner who can manage operations over here while he floats above the whole thing and works on that sort of stuff. He's been extremely successful with that. So while that's not my personal advice, that's what I've seen him do.
Yeah, I think at that point you become more of a business person rather than a filmmaker, which is perfectly fine. I mean, these days that's kind of what I'm doing myself. Mm-hmm. I do very. Well, I've shot very little video the past couple of months. I've done a lot of product photography just because it just so happens. but most of my time these days are spent producing shoots and running the company along.
That's a
with
good
guy who's right
point, actually.
there.
Is that
That's my business partner right there. He probably can't.
So
hear
you
us.
have
He's
to
got headphones
listen,
on.
people. You have to watch this on YouTube so you can see guys' back.
Yes.
I mean, you got to tune into YouTube. So that's a very good point. As a business person, you have to make choices as your business grows, because and this is a very hard jump. Matter of fact, most creatives don't ever make this jump. Is you're going to start out doing something you love. It's photography, it's videography, it's painting, whatever that creative thing is, and then you're going to start selling it to people, and it's going to turn into a business. Then that's great. There's going to be this point where you have done all you can do as an individual, but you want to do more, or you have people asking you to do more. They want to do more business with you. At that point, that's a crucial point. Now what you have to do is, am I going to become a manager of other people who do the thing that I love, of other videographers, of other editors or colorists or whatever it is? That means I am not going to be doing videography or coloring or editing. And if I'm going to do less of that and watching others do the thing that I started out doing. Some people are okay with that. They want to scale. Guys like my friend Alan are that way. He says all the time, he says, I don't brew beer. Tim brews beer. I don't make videos. Daryl makes. I have the businesses. He's okay with that. Not everybody is. And so sometimes then you grow, you hire a couple of people, then you realize, I hate managing people. I want to make a video. I don't get to make videos anymore. Nothing in the world wrong with that. Just understand your business is going to hit a ceiling and you're going to have to stop there and be okay with that. And if you are, then you'll be happy. Yeah.
Well, if you're in the lucky position to be to have to make that choice, because obviously that's a choice that you have to make once you've grown a bit more. I'm going to recommend another book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. Ooh. And it's E-Myth as in not electronic myth. It's E-Myth as in entrepreneur myth. And in that book, he says there are 3 different roles you have to fulfill as a business owner. There is the worker, the person who performs the task that you need to do to provide the service or product to your clients. So in this case, you're the filmmaker or the editor. Then there's the manager who manages the team and oversees the projects. And then there's the entrepreneur who dreams big and plans out the future of the company. And it's fine to be all 3 people at once. Well, no, it's fine to be all 3 people, but not at once. You have to know that there are those 3 jobs that you are doing. You're doing 3 different jobs if you are running your own business and doing the work and managing yourself or managing the processes that you do as a worker. And once you have that mindset, I think that's when you can kind of start to grow a bit more. That's when, as soon as I read this book and Guy read it as well, as soon as we read this book, that's when we really saw success, because you're thinking in a way that will allow you to scale, if that's what you want to do. If that's
what you want to do, right?
Yeah. If you're happy just doing charging day rates and all that, and you can charge more and more for your day rates, so you can increase your price. But if you want to scale in terms of the volume, then that's what you need to get your head around.
Yeah. And that's the choice to make, right? And I've done it both ways. I've run businesses completely by myself until I ran ragged, because I was doing all 3 roles at the same time for years. Because I like all 3 roles. But with Wewa Films, I was lucky enough to find a partner who doesn't want to do the entrepreneurial stuff. She doesn't want to do the manager stuff. She wants to make awesome videos. She wants to shoot and cut amazing videos. Well, good, because I don't want to do that. I like to produce. I like the people side, clients, and all that stuff. But what that allows me to do is I can do things like this. See, I can be on Teralon Talks. She's making videos. And that way we're being productive. That's a hard thing. I have a videographer friend who's amazing, lives about 90 miles from us. And he's a freelancer at heart, because he wants to shoot video for during the day, and then he wants to hop on his motorbike and go riding in the woods every day. Or go kayaking or stand up paddleboard, whatever. We have a lot of water around here. That's what he wants to do. That's his lifestyle, and he's great at living it. It sounds kind of great, right? And he's great at living that lifestyle. But if he had employees or if he had a partner, he can't do that, and he knows it. And so he's like, no, and he does work for really big brands. When they come to the Panhandle of Florida, to the Pensacola area, he's on their list. Call Jake. He's your camera too, and he's happy as a clam over there. Wewa Films were different. We wanted to scale up and do things a little bit bigger like that. So it's just, who do you want to be in the world?
Yeah. Again, put your address into Google Maps before you go anywhere.
That's right. Right.
Or any other app of your choice. Not biased here.
Oh, right. Google does not pay us for that endorsement, but we wish they would.
I wish, yeah. One other thing to know is these three roles, right? The entrepreneur, the manager, and the worker. Mm-hmm. You don't have to. One is not more important than the other. No. And just because you are not the entrepreneur or because you are not the manager of your own company doesn't mean that that you've failed. I mean, a lot of founders hire CEOs to do to do that job for them.
The smart ones do.
And they own the company, but they just say, hey, that's not the CEO job, the CEO role, which is, somehow seen as like the boss of the company, is not necessarily, you're not giving your child, your creation over to them. You're just hiring them to do that job for you, just as you would hire a marketing manager.
Right. Or a videographer. It's a skill set like any other. It's just a different set of skills. And you're not doing anybody any favors by making them work against their skills. A good example of what you just mentioned, I don't know if you're familiar with the company Moz, M-O-Z. They're a search engine optimization company, website stuff, and they've been around forever. But they're extremely, that's their position in the market. If you get into web design and web search engine optimization, you'll come across Moz. They're a big deal. Their founder is a guy named Rand Fishkin, and he's brilliant, but he's also funny. It was a quirky brand. They were fun. They were one of the early kind of content marketers. So they had Whiteboard Fridays, and they would do all this really cool nerdy web, SEO stuff. Got a big following and scaled and did really, really well. And then a few years ago, Rand with a D ran the company himself for years and years and years. And then he got to a certain size, and then he announced, we have just hired, I'm stepping aside as CEO. We've hired a CEO because, one, this company's getting so big, I'm not good at CEO anymore. And two, I want to do Whiteboard Fridays, and I want to be Rand, the things I loved about this company. And they hired somebody who knows how to do that. Mm-hmm. It's a classic example. And they scale. So it's really just a matter of, are you willing to do that or not? Do you want to do that or not? Because there are people out there that don't have a creative bone in their body, but they can run your company a heck of a lot better than you can. So they run spreadsheets. They know all that stuff that creatives typically hate.
So it's no surprise to me that in talking about marketing and branding, we have segued into business strategy and how to organize your company. Because, branding and marketing, or to me, the sales process runs throughout your company. Yeah. So the experience, even if you have, marketing doesn't have to be to new clients only, because you can market to your existing customers and clients. Oh yeah. So if you give them a good experience, that is the best sales pitch you can give for them to hire you again. And word of mouth might get you more clients and that kind of stuff. So making sure that you know who you are or know who you want to be, that you have your brand discipline rules set in place, and that you stick to them, and you give your customers and clients consistent experience, and that they trust you. That is all very good marketing, and you have to have you have to be organized in order to do that.
Marketing, one of the biggest myths with marketing is that marketing is a thing we do and then we're done. We did that. We marketed. There's no past tense to marketing. You are always going back to Jack Trout. I think he said it in one of his other books, maybe Trout on strategy, or I don't know. I've watched him on YouTube presentations and stuff too. But he said, all you really have in business is a difference and marketing. That's all you got. You have something that makes you different than everybody else, or if you don't, you're already in trouble. But if you do, if you have something like us, cinematic, heartfelt, if you have a little difference, then all you have is marketing that difference. If you don't get that in your mind, that you, to grow a company, are marketing all the time. Consistency. You mentioned consistency. In my field, in marketing, it's called Integrated Marketing Communications, IMC. It's a whole field of study. It's part of what my master's degree is in, is IMC. You can just Google IMC and you'll get a ton of stuff. Integrated Marketing Communications means we define our brand clearly, and then we fill every channel we have at our disposal with messages about our brand. So people say, what's better, TikTok or Facebook? I say, yes. What's better? Should I do personal meetings or should I do a podcast? I go, if you can do both, yes. It's integrated. Every channel you have, because you never know when people are going to touch your brand, and they have to touch it repeatedly to be a buyer. Mm-hmm. So HubSpot, I don't know if you ever heard of HubSpot. They're a digital marketing platform. I took training with them on their years and years ago on blogging because I love to write. So I asked the question, I'm like, so how often should you blog? Should it be like once a week or should it be? And her answer was so perfect. She said, well, how often do you want to be seen?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I go, that's a good way to think about it. Yeah. So it's about quantity. And I know creatives don't like that because a lot of them are introverted. You want to sit in your dark room, like guy back there with he's just hunkered down at his computer, right?
He's only in the dark because I turned the house lights off because they look terrible on camera. But yeah, that's but somebody in the company has to always be thinking, how am I communicating my brand today? Forget tomorrow, forget yesterday. What do I do today to move my brand forward? To me, today, I'm on Teralon Talks. Mm-hmm. It's a big deal. That's why we appreciate it. But that's the kind of thinking you have to do, and it accumulates, especially online. Mm-hmm. That's why blogging is important. Social media is important. You think that Facebook post or that LinkedIn post, don't forget LinkedIn. A lot of people with money on LinkedIn. You put that post out there and then it's ephemeral, like it goes away and then people never see it again. That's not true. Sometimes people will discover your brand. They'll go to your LinkedIn page and they'll scroll through the last year's worth of content. That stuff lives forever, and you should be putting it out there all the time. Yeah, I mean, we had an example. I remember the concept of it. I don't remember the specifics, but this past year we had someone who we had pitched to, I think 4 years prior, come to us and say, hey, by the way, can you help us with this job? And I don't think it materialized because otherwise I'd remember it more. But you know, the fact is they came back to us with a pretty serious pitch, pretty serious project, because we'd pitched to them. They didn't need us then, but we kept reinforcing that over the years. They kept, you know, we were connected to them on whichever platform they were following us on, and they saw a consistent message that we were putting out about who we are and what we provide. And then when the time was right, they came back to us. So, you know, it can take up to 4, you know, a lot of times more years before someone will actually hire you for a job. Yeah. Now, one thing you said just a minute ago is which platform should I post on, Instagram or Twitter? You said if you can, do both. And I think that if you can part is also very important because yes, it's good to be on both platforms. It's good to keep delivering that consistent message over and over and over again. But if you can't do that, if you don't have time to do that, if you know you're putting a lot of effort into Instagram, that's great. But then your Twitter is kind of you're being let down by your Twitter presence. In my opinion, and I want to know if you agree with this, in my opinion, it's best to stick to Instagram rather than dilute your brand and put like an average message out on Twitter. Yeah. And not get it right there.
Find out where it all comes back to target audience. Where are the people you're trying to attract? Where are they viewing social media? for us, because I have a 19-year-old daughter who spends some time on Facebook, but most of her time is spent on TikTok. Okay, fine. Are my clients necessarily on TikTok? Some of them are, I'm sure. But the customers with the budgets we want, the kind of work we do, are typically not 20 years old. And they're on Facebook or they're on LinkedIn. And so we put a lot of our effort over there. Frankly, my Twitter feed is abysmal. It's not much going on over there. But we get lots of play on our Facebook page. Because another thing, say as opposed to Instagram, I can do so many more things because I'm also a writer. So I like to write. So I blog. It's a skill that I have. So I try to use it in my marketing. Well, promoting a blog on Instagram is a little harder than it is on Facebook. It's super easy on Facebook and LinkedIn. I throw them up. So that kind of thing, it always comes back to not really even what you want to do. It's where are the people you're trying to attract? Where are they consuming media and information? And then, yeah, if you unless you have people that can do all the channels, well, do them. If you don't, then focus and specialize in the ones that work best for you. Sure.
So we've kind of gone full circle. We started with social media and we're back on social media now. Can we end this episode of the podcast by giving maybe a few case studies of our initial question? Are endless photos of Kit useful on social media for filmmakers? When is it useful and when is it not? So
I am not, because I originally said at the very beginning that if you're a videographer trying to attract attention from other production companies, that your Kit videos are going to be great because they can tell if you're legit or not by watching those. I'm not saying it's bad to not put them out, to put them out there for other people to see, because it's not. We do. I mean, like I said, my business partner's our gear nerd, and so she makes these really cool videos. When she gets a new piece of gear, she gets all excited and she makes super cool videos. We put those out there because, one, why not? It didn't cost us anything to put it on social media. The other thing is that it does show people that, one, they have cool stuff. They don't need to know all the specs because they don't care. But they're like, okay, that looks like real equipment. Two, they can see the production value. If they'll spend that kind of time making a little gear video about a gimbal, well, then what might they do with my project? So it does have marketing value. I just wouldn't lean on it a lot. And let me give one example, and then I'll be interested to see what you think about that. Is when we started this company, we knew we talked a lot about our brand. We knew who we wanted to be. We knew the kind of work that gave us chills that we liked to do. But we didn't have any of it. We didn't have a portfolio or a brand new company. So how do we attract people? What we did was we decided to do a little docu-series called Craft. I had this idea when I was on my lawnmower one day. I cannot, by the way, recommend mowing your lawn if you want to generate ideas. It's like you need some menial task and the ideas just pop. Anyway, we did this. If you have a lawn. If you have a lawn. Sorry, you live in London. I live in North Florida. We all have lawns. Go for a long drive. Does the same thing. So we said, okay, we have nothing. We have to create something for the world to see what we can do. And we got this idea. We're creatives. We have a lot of artist friends. And so I literally just started calling my artist friends and was like, look, we want to do a docuseries. We're trying to get this company off the ground. Can we do an episode on you? And they're artists. So they're like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, sure. So we did one on a watercolor artist, amazing watercolor artist. Did one on a stand-up comedian friend of mine. And did one on a comic book illustrator that I know here in town. And then we did one on Alan, on the brewery that I mentioned. We put out 2 episodes of that, just 2, and my phone started ringing. People went, hey, that was great. Can you talk to me about this project I have? That alone, and it just started ringing and ringing. We got very busy very quickly with just 2 episodes. The reason I think that is, as opposed to, say, gear videos, is because clients could see they could see themselves in that video. They could see their organization going, wow, oh, nice shot. That looks great. That person looks good in the interview. It's really well lit. I want to look like that in my video. That's the difference. In other words, so focus on what is going to help consumers see themselves more than them seeing you, if that makes sense. They want to see themselves. So show them something that they could look awesome in.
I think that's a really good way to put it. So my answer to that question was going to be, if you are trying to work for production companies, then gear pictures might be useful, and presumably that's because they can see themselves in those gear pictures, so they can see themselves turning up to their client's shoot for their client with you as the camera operator, and they can see themselves turning up with you there and your kit looks, professional, and it's a good camera, whatever. And so that in that case it helps. If you're trying to work for the end client, as in the person making the product or service that you're making a video for, unless that video is a camera, unless that product is a camera, it's not as useful. Now, we still do it because part of what we want to show as a brand and as who we are is that we're trustworthy and we're professional. And so when we post pictures or videos of our kit or of us on set, the goal is to show that everything's organized. We're there wearing company uniform. I say uniform, it's company t-shirt, and we're not scruffy. We're professional. Those kind of things, rather than say, hey, we've got cool cameras. And now sometimes we do like to show a specific setup accompanied by the final product. Santi, who's sitting right next to me here, makes some great videos that we post on Instagram stories, Instagram Reels, and TikTok and LinkedIn, where Santi's filming behind the scenes of the setup, but we also show the final shot that we got, because that shows the client, and we aim to market ourselves towards the end client, not larger production companies.
But see, that's a different story. That's an interesting, because if you show the finished product, the client sees that and they go, okay, that looks good. I want that for my company.
Yeah.
And showing now they're fascinated. They go, that looks cool. Oh, and look, he's showing me how he's working behind the curtains. That's the combination that works. It's not just show me behind the curtain, show me the finished product. Yeah, that's where I see myself. Yeah,
well, excellent as well, because a lot of people think, photographers or filmmakers, whatever, you just press a button and that's it. But if you can show them, like, we make this amazing looking video, and the reason it looks this way, they see the amazing video and that's great. And then the reason it looks this way is not because we got lucky with the sun. It's because look at my behind the scenes picture. We put all these lights in place in a special kind of way that we know how to, and you don't, so hire us. And that's kind of why we show, it's one of the reasons why we show behind the scenes stuff. Another reason is because we also want to communicate with our peers, because we hire a lot of freelancers to help us with the larger projects that we do. So we also want to communicate with them and kind of keep that conversation going, so that we have a support network when we need them.
And they know the league you play in. See, that's the thing, that they know that brand. Again, brands, if you build one well, it communicates for you when you're not there, which is the important thing. And so they know the league you play in. They go, oh, Teralon, if they call, they go, oh, that's a level that, okay, I know I have to put on my game face. And I mean, it's fine to be fun and playful and approachable, but you have to be really, really good. That's what clients want. Yeah. They don't need a best friend. They want a pro on their project. And so, that then when that freelancer steps onto your set, he or she knows how they're supposed to behave, because this is a Teralon set. I want them thinking that when they come onto a Wewa set. We know the level they do. This is a different league than just, goofing around type play video. Yeah.
I mean, we want them to give a professional attitude when they're on set, but we also want them to be motivated when they're on set with us, because if they're motivated, then they'll give us a better better service, and in turn that means we can give our clients better service. So hopefully that's kind of what that's also what this whole podcast is about, is kind of giving back and trying to help out our peers, but also motivating people about Teralon.
And by the way, people want to be inspired by brands more and more and more. They want to do that. They want to feel good about the buying that they do. People always want to be inspired. If you can, this is a good marketing tip too, by the way. If you can, in your marketing, think aspirationally, think hopes and dreams, think inspiration. That works all the time. It works every time you try it, because there's something deep in human beings. And filmmakers are in a perfect position to capture this, because we're all living out a story in our mind. We're living out a film reel in our minds. It's why when you're in a bad relationship or in a job that doesn't suit you, you just know it down deep. You're like, this is the wrong story. This is something went wrong with the script here. There's a story running inside all of us. Well, who better to tap into that than filmmakers? And so that's the way we explain it to people. They say, we just finished a corporate video for a big regional corporate-y type thing. And we get this comment over and over. I sent her the draft video, the CEO. She sent me back a text and she goes, I don't know how you did it, but we just did 4 hours of interviews and somehow you weaved it into a story. Like you could tell the story of what we did. That's the filmmaker's job. And people just love it when you give them that. If we'd have given her a stale, like we had really heartfelt music, it's not a standard corporate video, because nobody wants that.
Yeah.
They want to see their story. So give it to them. And that's the best marketing of all.
Well, great. I mean, that's fantastic advice to end on. I'd love to go on for hours and hours. There's so much more we can go into.
I can come back.
No, we'd love. I mean, that's exactly what I was going to say. We'd love to have you back. Yeah. Let's do another episode soon on maybe another topic, or go in deeper on one of these topics. Before we go, can I just point out, look at this sky.
Look at that. Look at you, man.
Have these massive windows here, and we get the most beautiful sunsets here.
Oh my gosh.
So if you're listening to this on whatever, if you're listening to this
Once
and not
again,
watching it, you are missing out.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you listening, even if you're just on Spotify or whatever. But you should definitely come, and by the way, I am a Floridian. I know about sunsets.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I live on the Gulf. So I'm saying, if that's an impressive sunset, it's really an impressive sunset. That's a beautiful shot, man. You should get a still of that.
Thanks.
That should be your LinkedIn profile.
Oh, yeah, maybe. I need a trim. I'm getting a haircut on Tuesday, so in 4 days.
All right, yeah.
We've been in lockdown. I haven't had a haircut in over a month now. Anyway, right. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. Where can our listeners find you, find out more about you, send you some questions if they want to ask you some? Where are you
Absolutely. We are Wewa Films, WEWA Films, wewafilms.com. We're on all the social media. Go to Facebook, Wewa Films. I'm Kevin Elliott, Kevin at Wewa Films. That's my email. You'll find us. Our contact information is everywhere. So just Google WEWA Films. We'll pop up. I really appreciate it, Julian. This has been a blast.
No problem. Thanks for joining. And if our listeners want to find out more about Teralon, maybe this is the first. Maybe they just happened upon this podcast because you're friends of Kevin. Then come and see us. We're at Teralon Media on Instagram and various other places, and teralonmedia.co.uk. Actually, hold on. It's teralon.co.uk. 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 Oh my God, that's bad.
And remember, so I read your website, Teralon the Dotted Lion. Look at their logo. It's clever, right?
Yeah. And if you go on the About Us page, then you'll find the story behind that, behind the name and behind the logo. All right, cool. Thank you, Kevin. And let's do this again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, Julian.
All right. Bye.
Bye.